Today, we're going to answer a very common question. What happens when you remove your body hair? So if you ever shaved your legs or got a wax, you might know that body hair grows back. But here, we are going to dig into the science behind body hair and what happens to it when you remove it. You can remove body hair in a number of different ways. You could shave it, wax it, use depilatory creams, or sugaring, plucking, laser treatments, electrolysis, intense pulsed light therapy, all of which have their own benefits and drawbacks, and many people find multiple methods worth trying out. Some people even alternate the way they remove their hair from month to month. Ultimately, the best method for removing body hair is the one that works best for you. And there are so many options because people have been removing hair for thousands of years. For example, the ancient Egyptians would pluck their hair out by the roots using tweezers. They also used depilatory creams made from substances like the extract of a tropical African tree called kata. But today we're not talking about the history of hair removal. We're talking about what happens to your hair when you remove it. So let's start with the basics. Why do humans have body hair? Well, you probably know that hair grows from follicles that sit in your skin. And humans have about 5 million of these hair follicles all over their body. Now, not all of these follicles are going to be doing the same thing. And this is especially true when you compare your head hair to your body hair. Head hair tends to grow longer because the follicles are larger and produce more cells, while body hair doesn't tend to grow as long because its follicles are smaller and produce fewer cells. But no matter where it grows, every hair has a follicle at its root, a shaft, and a bulb that contains living cells which divide and push the old cells upwards, creating the hair strand. As these cells move away from the bulb and towards the skin surface, they die and become keratinized, meaning they fill up with the protein keratin, which makes them hard and helps form the hair shaft. And this process is very similar whether we're talking about head hair, eyelash hair, nostril hair, underarm hair, or pubic hair. But the differences between these kinds of hair isn't just about length. There's actually two main types of hair on the human body, vellus hair and terminal hair. Vellus hairs make up about 90% of the hair on our bodies. They're soft, short, and barely have a visible color. Terminal hairs, on the other hand, are coarser and longer and include our head hair, as well as the hair in our eyebrows, eyelashes, nose hairs, armpit hair, and pubic hair. Most of the rest of the hair on our bodies is vellus hair. And although it may seem less interesting than terminal hair, vellus hair actually plays an important role in helping us cool down. You see, the tops of these hairs are located near the surface of our skin, which means they help increase the surface area of our body. And since sweat evaporates off this increased surface area, we cool down faster. In fact, when researchers compared the amount of time it took for people to cool down after exercising with and without wearing tight clothing that covered their bodies, they found that it took significantly longer for people to cool down when their bodies were covered. This means that the vellus hair in our clothes creates little gaps in the fabric that allow sweat to evaporate and cool our bodies. So having lots of vellus hair could mean that we cool down faster. But why does some of this hair turn into the thicker, darker kind? Well, that has a lot to do with sex hormones. One such hormone is testosterone, which is produced in larger quantities in males. But females also have testosterone, just much lower amounts. During puberty, testosterone and other hormones cause the development of secondary sexual characteristics, things like breast growth in females and voice deepening in males. These hormones also kickstart the production of new and thicker hair in areas like the armpit and the pubic region. Testosterone binds to receptors in the hair follicles in these areas, stimulating them to grow thicker, darker terminal hair. And this is why people often start getting these kinds of hairs during puberty. Ultimately, the number of terminal hair follicles on your body is genetic. But if you happen to have more terminal hair follicles than your neighbor, you can thank your sex hormones. Not only are these hairs darker and thicker, but they also contain more of a pigment called melanin, which gives them their color. This is why shaving, waxing, or plucking body hair doesn't just remove dead, keratinized hair, it also removes the living part of the hair in the follicle. So when you remove these hairs, you're not just losing some dead tissue. You're also taking away parts of living cells that haven't yet turned into keratinized tissue. And depending on how you remove your body hair, you might be removing the top layer of living cells too. Let's take shaving for instance. When you run a razor over your skin, you're cutting the hair at the skin surface and removing the dead, keratinized part of the hair. But you're also removing the top layer of your skin along with it. And if you shave frequently, this can lead to irritation and inflammation. Or let's take waxing, which pulls the hair out from the root. This means that you're removing not only the dead, keratinized part of the hair, but also the living part in the follicle. The benefit of waxing is that it often results in smoother skin for longer because you are removing the hair from the root and the new hair hasn't had a chance to grow back yet. Now, epilation, which is when you pull individual hairs out using tweezers, will also remove the hair from the root. And the same goes for sugaring, which uses a type of paste made from sugar to remove unwanted hair. But no matter which hair removal method you use, you're bound to encounter some sort of hair regrowth. That is, unless you opt for laser treatments, which zap the hair with a high-intensity laser that targets the melanin in the hair. If you have a lot of terminal hair, this can result in significant hair loss in the treated area. This is because the laser damages the follicles, causing them to stop producing hair. Some people get laser treatments to reduce the amount of terminal hair they have on their body, and some get them to prevent hair growth in the first place. For example, studies have shown that 6 months after laser hair removal, participants reduced their body hair by between 43 and 76%, depending on the part of the body being treated. However, even though the laser destroys the hair follicles, you may still see hair regrowth. That's because laser hair removal doesn't completely destroy every single hair follicle. Instead, it damages enough of them that the person needs to schedule multiple treatment sessions over several weeks or months in order to remove as much hair as possible. And even after all those zaps, some hair follicles may remain and continue growing new hair. That said, there are also reports of people who experienced permanent hair loss in the treated area, which means that some laser treatments can successfully remove most or all of the terminal hair in an area, but this is not always the case. And no matter what kind of hair removal method you choose, remember that hair is a normal part of the human body. It's there for a reason, and you don't have to remove it if you don't want to. Thanks for watching C Show.